What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Waters, and welcome to the Life Metal. It's time for a rock metal update. That's right. It's time for a rock and metal update, and this update is going to be all cassettes. Inherited a large cassette collection. All but one of these came from that collection. I'm going to show the one that didn't come first. This one is still sealed, but this is Aerosmith done with mirrors, and as you all know, I collect anything Aerosmith. The original pressing of this had the thing mirrored in reverse. This is a later repressing. As you can see, it has the Aerosmith wings kind of ghosted on top, and everything is readable in the right way. I guess people didn't understand the whole point of done with mirrors and the reverse thing, so that's kind of why they changed it after a while. But anyhow, this one's still sealed, $3.99. Good luck finding it for $3.99 now, sealed. But yeah, that's kind of cool to have. So I have both the original pressing and the repressing on cassette, and these are not in any sort of order, so I'm just going to start showing them. There are three here from Jimi Hendrix, the Ultimate Hendrix Experience. Of course, I am a big Jimi Hendrix fan, so very cool. Kind of just a hits collection. This is Jimi Hendrix Live at Woodstock. And one more. This is From This Day On, which is also a compilation of pre-experience recordings from Jimi Hendrix. From This Day On, You Say Love Me, Get Down, Under the Table, Part 1, Blues, Red House, Miracle Worker, and People's People. So kind of that pre-experience stuff, which doesn't sound anything like he did when from Experience on. So, and he wasn't really his solo material either. He was working with other musicians, other artists, and so anyhow, it's just after he became popular, all that stuff started re-emerging with his name on it. So he did play on it. It's just it just wasn't his solo stuff, and it wasn't stuff that he necessarily wrote either. So, all right, next up, we got us some heavy metal from Southern California. Got Armored Saint with Delirious Nomad, and Armored Saint with Raising Fear. On cassette, classic heavy metal, of course, from Southern California. Those guys were hugely popular in Southern California back in the day, back in the 80s. When they toured with Metallica, Armored Saint was the opening band until they played California, and then Armored Saint was the headlining band for one tour. I think it was the Ride Lightning tour for Metallica. So, all right, next up, Michael Schenker Group, Built to Destroy. I always love this album. I still love it to this day. David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile. Of course, this is David Lee Roth beating Van Halen at their own game when he left or kicked out or whatever it was from the band. His first full-length solo album, and yeah, Steve Vai on guitar, so Billy Sheehan on bass. So he just had this fantastic band. Got to see this show live in Rochester, New York at the War Memorial. Fantastic show. They did obviously a lot of Van Halen material, but they also did most of this album as well. So really good album from him. Probably his best solo album. I don't think he ever beat it, in my opinion. This is the best of the Scorpions, or the Scorpions, the best of the ballads, hot and slow. I don't own this on any other format. I like ballads, but mixed in with the rest of the albums. But to listen to the whole album of ballads, I don't know. I haven't listened to this one yet. So, but there's some good stuff on here. Because this is all stuff, Uli era stuff. So you got In Trance, which is a killer song. Yellow Raven, Born to Touch Your Feelings. In Search of a Peace of Mind, Far Away. Did I say Yellow Raven? Like a River. In Your Park, Crying Days, Fly People Fly, We'll Burn the Sky, Live and Dying, Living and Dying, and Kojo Natsusaki, Live. So anyhow, Scorpions, love anything, especially Uli era Scorpions. I'm a big fan of. So, all right, these are not in any kind of order, like I said. So here's another Van Halen. This is a kind of a cool one because it's 2-on-1. So it's Women and Children First and Fair Warning on the. Each album is on a single side of the tape, so that's kind of cool. I've never seen that before. This one as well. This is Who Are You and Live at Leeds by The Who. 2-on-1. And then this is Bride, Shotgun Wedding. This is a compilation of stuff they released back in the, it must have been the 2000s, early, no, it had to be mid-90s, so let me see if I can find a year in here. Yeah, mid-90s, 1995, so Psychedelic Super Jesus, the Buzzsaw Mix. Would You Die For Me, Everybody Knows My Name, Place, Fallout, Same Old Sinner, Time, the 12-gauge mix. Rattlesnake, Troubled Times, Beast, and Hired Gun, the Anvil mix. So there you go. Bride. This is Kiss My Ass, the Kiss compilation, the Kiss, not a compilation, but a tribute album that was actually put together by the members of Kiss. I know a lot of bands recorded songs that didn't make it onto here, Galactic Cowboys being one, and I love the Galactic Cowboys Kiss cover they did. Ended up being on one of their EPs instead, but this one's got a bunch of big names on there, but Lenny Kravitz, Extreme, Anthrax, Garth Brooks, Dinosaur Jr., the Mighty Mighty Boss Stones, which was the single they released from this album, Lemonheads, Toad and Wet Sprocket, Shandy's Addiction. So it was all big names back in the day. I like some of it, Anthrax being one, but I even like the Mighty Boss Tones version, but not a huge fan of that album overall, but I am a big Kiss fan. So The Who, John Entwistle, The Hero. I used to have this one back in the day. I haven't heard it in decades. I couldn't tell you anything about it. It's been so long since I heard it, but I will be playing it, obviously, since I have this. I have played some of these to make sure they all play clean and whatnot, and so far they all do. So The Best of Grand Funk, another compilation. This one features the smallest type ever typed. Locomotion, Shining On, Time Machine, Gimme Shelter, Mean Mistreater, We're an American Band, Feeling Alright, Walk Like a Man, and Closer to Home. So that's your Grand Funk compilation there. Alright, I need to cruise because there's still a lot to go here. California's Best Metal. So this is kind of a lot of local stuff that wasn't big at the time, and most of it's still not known to these days. But let me read the band's names to you. So Hellion, which is a band that most people would know. Divine Right, out of LA, which I do like them. I have I think they only released the one album and a bunch of demos. Night Stalker, don't know them. 69, Assassin, do know them. Nightmare 2, don't know them. Place of Oblivion, Siren, Ruby Slippers, VVSI, that one I do know. Savage Grace, great band from LA. No Sugar, Wolfhanger, Audio, and Wizard. That's the bands included on here. So it's all metal. It's all from California. Very cool compilation I've never seen before. I believe this thing was released on cassette and vinyl. So looking forward to checking that out. Rush 2112, classic album. I probably have between vinyl and CD copies. This is probably like my 5th or 6th copy of this that I own. Because I think I own I don't know. I own a bunch of different copies of this thing, and it's just a great album. Rush's 4th album, fantastic stuff from them. This is Power Windows by Rush. I love the little sticker on the back from the Sound Warehouse on there. That's kind of cool. Right. This band I know nothing about, except for the fact that I believe Brad Whitford from Aerosmith played some guitar on it. He did. Okay, so this is produced. This band's called 1994. Name of the album is there a name? Just 1994, I guess. But it's produced by Jack Douglas, who of course produced most of the Aerosmith 70s albums. Brad Wood from Aerosmith plays on here as well. So there's that Aerosmith connection. So I, again, haven't checked this one out. Looking forward to hearing it. My buddy Rob Whitlock, who was the bass player for Ultimatum, recommended this. So I'm kind of looking forward to checking it out. A couple from Queensryche. This is Warning. The Warning, which I love this album, and the first EP. They're my 2 favorites from Queensryche. And then this is Promised Land, which is much more mellow, not really metal, just more of a, proggy rock album, but I still dig this album. Not as much as I like the first, not as much as I like the EP and Warning, but still cool. All right, continue moving on here. 10 minutes in. Still got about 20 more to go. So classic, you know, thrash band, Kill 'Em All, Metallica. Very cool to have this one. One of my all-time favorite bands, Jailbreak, Thin Lizzy, another one of those things. I probably own 6, 7 copies of it between vinyl and CD and cassette and 8-track. And, you know, this is Spinal Tap. This is the soundtrack from the movie. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all times. It makes me laugh every time I see it. And when I do watch it, my wife's not interested in it, and I'm crack it up, and she's like, "You're an idiot." So, so probably, but I don't know. If you've ever been in a band for any period of time, some of the stuff in there is just it's just cracks you up. This is Crocus Headhunter, probably their most popular album. From the fact that it had, at least a couple hits on there. Headhunter, which had Rob Halford singing background vocals on it, and you could clearly hear his voice in there. But what was the other one on here? Eat the Rich was somewhat popular. Screaming at Night was the one I'm thinking of. Stayed Awake All Night, which is a cover, which also, you know, I think it was Bachman BTO, Bachman Turner Overdrive. There you go. Pretty sure it was a cover of them. Yeah, it was a great album from them. Cool cover art, too. One of my all-time favorite artists. This is Ace Frehley. His first, the first Frehley's Comet album came out, 83, somewhere in that area. I love this album. I've heard, funny, I posted a picture of the CD because I played it not too long ago on my Facebook page, and about half the people loved, the other half said it was crap. I don't know where the crap is. It's just great heavy rock and roll. So, all right, this is Tourniquet. This is one of the part of the Intense Live series. There was 5 of them released. This is volume 2. Tourniquet. Deliverance was number 1. Just Die Happy, and I can't remember all the bands that were in. There was 5 bands, but this is cool. It's kind of a live in a studio recording. They do a couple covers on here. They do a cover of The Tempter by Trouble, which later on Metal Blade added to one of their albums as a bonus track. And they also do a cover of Blood Good's The Messiah. And also they have Blood Good's vocalist, Les Carlson, singing guest vocals on some of the tracks on there. So, kind of cool. Kiss Alive, full album on 1 cassette. Obviously one of the greatest live albums of all time. Riot Narita. This is obviously a classic album, and this is like one of the first ones I played when I got the cassettes from him. And I put it on, and it sounded horrible, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why does this thing sound so bad? And then I realized that the little sponge thing on there that holds against the tape was missing, so I found another cassette that I didn't care about and glued a new one on there, and now it plays perfectly. So yeah, for whatever reason that piece popped off over time. The glue dried out and it just popped off. So, all right, what else we got here? Right, Accept, Breaker, classic, early 80s, Accept from Germany. Black Flag, this is My War. This is, of course, punk, not metal. Kind of the oddball sticking out in this batch of stuff, but still very cool. You just don't see these guys on cassette. You don't see them very often at all, period. But cool to have. Iron Maiden, this is Killers. I actually had a copy of this on cassette, so I passed that on to a friend, and I kept this one for myself. And then Iron Maiden, debut. Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force. Love this album. Saw this tour. Alright. We got 5 more to go. And Accept, Restless and Wild. Probably my favorite Accept album. It's just, I mean, this is one I was listening to over and over and over again in high school. Just every song on here is fantastic in my opinion. It's got, you know, of course, 3 of their most played songs too, and Fast as a Shark, Restless and Wild, and Princess of the Dawn. So, and then Kazuban, Accept, their live EP. And then this is Masters of Metal. Masters of Metal. And who are on the Masters of Metal? Well, this is a 70s compilation, so it's not who you think it is, because metal bands in the 70s weren't the same as metal bands in the 80s, and now you've got people from, you know, these days fighting about, I mean, 5-10 years ago, I had people telling me that, you know, bands like Judas Priest and Black Sabbath and, you know, Deep Purple and all those bands that were considered metal in the 70s weren't metal. Now I've got guys, if you look at my Facebook page today, there's a guy on there arguing with me that bands like Saxon and aren't metal, and Judas Priest aren't metal, and Metallica aren't metal. Seriously, because though they're not as heavy as the current metal band, it's not the point. You don't know your history, you are ignorant. It has nothing to do with that. These were the bands that were considered metal during that time. They were the heavy bands of the 70s. These next bands were the bands of the 80s. And yes, I realize it keeps getting more heavy and more extreme, but it doesn't diminish those early bands of what they accomplished either. So anyhow, who's on here? Okay, so you've got, we're an American band, Grand Funk, Godzilla, Blue Oyster Cult, Too Hot to Handle, UFO, $1 Billion Babies, Alice Cooper, Boom Boom Out Go the Lights. That would be Pat Travers' cover of the classic blues tracks. Anthem, Rush, Easy Livin', Uriah Heep, Lady Love, Robin Trower, Just What the Doctor Ordered, Ted Nugent, and Mississippi Queen by Mountain. So there you go. That is the Masters of Metal live, the 70s. They're all live tracks. This too is a live compilation. This is Castle Donington. Has several tracks from, well, at least 2 tracks from most of these bands. Some of them only get 1, but so you've got Stargazer from Rainbow, Loving You Sunday Morning from Scorpions, Another Piece of Meat by Scorpions, Back to the Wall by Saxon, All Night Long by Rainbow, I Love Rock by April Wine, Don't You Know What Love Is by Touch, and Road Racing by Riot. And then finally, Slaves to Metal. Now this is an 80s compilation, so you've got The Price by Twisted Sister, Blinded Texas by Wasp, Can't Live Without You Scorpions, Balls to the Wall by Accept, Soldiers Under Command by Stryper, Love Bites by Judas Priest, Rock and Roll Children by Dio, I'll See the Light Tonight by Yngwie, Heavy Metal Love by Helix, and The Lady Wore Black by Queensryche. So there you go. That's my cassette update for, what are we in, I don't know, June of 2023. Appreciate y'all watching. Curious what you think of all those. Definitely curious what you think of my comments about the 70s and 80s metal stuff. And that's it. God bless and stay strong.